How to play Jumanji, the board game. Jumanji, the board game, is for 2 to 4 players. The object of the game is to be the first player to reach the center of the board and call out Jumanji. What do you need to play Jumanji? Jumanji game board. 4 player pawns, blue, green, yellow, and red. 4 rescue die, numbered die, a rhino, a timer, a deck of danger cards, red decoder plate. Game setup. Place the decoder plate in the center of the board before starting. Shuffle the danger cards and place them face down in the draw space. Each player chooses a pawn and places it on its matching color on the start space. Place the rhino figure in the corner of the board with the rhino picture on it. Each player chooses 1 rescue die. Who goes first? The player whoever suggested playing Jumanji goes first. Play then continues clockwise. The player whose turn it is always gets the timer and the die. Let's start the game. The first player rolls the numbered die, then moves his or her pawn along their colored path towards the center. When your turn is over, pass the timer and the numbered die to the player on your left. Follow the space directions only on your turn. There are 4 different kinds of spaces. Blank spaces. If you land on a blank space, you draw a danger card. Slide it into the decoder and read it out loud. You will need a secret symbol and a number. That's the symbol the other players must roll on their rescue die in order to save you, and if they all roll the matching symbol before the time rolls out, they get to move each of their pawns ahead the number of spaces that the card tells them. If every die is not a match, you have to move backward the number of spaces, and the card gets placed face up on the doomsday grid. If the entire grid gets filled before anyone gets to the center, everyone loses. Wait for 5 or 8. If you land on a wait for 5 or 8 spaces, then each player has to take a turn trying to rescue you by rolling either a 5 or an 8 on the die. If they don't, you move back a space. This continues until you are rescued or move back far enough to reach the starting point. You do not need to follow the instructions on each space as you move back. Rhino spaces. If you land on a rhino space, you can choose to place the rhino figure directly in front of another player's pawn to block them. This rhino blocks the player's path and prevents them from moving forward unless they roll an even number on their turn. Or another player lands on a rhino spot and relocates the piece to block a different player. If your pawn has to move backwards, the rhino moves with you and remains 1 space ahead of you. Jungle spaces. If you land on a jungle space, pull a danger card and read it under the decoder. Flip the timer and all players will need to roll their rescue die to match the symbol on the jungle space in order to save themselves. If all players roll the hourglass symbol or the card symbol, everyone is safe. If not, add the danger card to the doomsday grid and continue pulling danger cards until everyone is safe. Each player will need to roll the correct symbol or hourglass symbol to save everyone, or the above steps will need to be repeated. If the doomsday grid fills up, all players have lost, and the game is over. Game rules. If you land on the same space as another player, you will need to move your piece to the next open space in front of that player. It's also important that all players always move their full number of spaces, unless they're prevented from doing so because of the rhino blocking their path. How to win the game. The winner is the player who reaches the center first by exact roll and calls out Jumanji. There are 2 ways to reach the center. 1. On your turn by rolling the exact number on the die. 2. On a fellow player's turn by exact number count after moving ahead on a danger card. If more than 1 player reaches the center at the same time, the first player to yell Jumanji is the winner. If you like the video, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.